The National Football League draft begins later Thursday in New York. This is the league's annual event where teams select eligible college football players to restock their shelves, so to speak. For the uninitiated, the draft is set up where the teams with the worst records get to choose first in hopes that the lesser teams can return to being competitive as soon as possible. One of the storylines for this year's NFL draft is the number of international players who could make their mark in the NFL. Joining me from New York, Andrew Garda, a featured NFL columnist for Bleacher Report. Andrew, good to see you. First of all, for those who may not know, why is the draft such a big deal for the fans?
Well, I think it's a fresh start for everyone. It's a long way between the Super Bowl and the beginning of the season. Everybody's got a shot at the Super Bowl coming up. We can put away the last year. And ultimately, we've just got so much time to fill before the football season. We're all just excited. We're looking to fill in whatever we can, tell us what might happen for our favorite teams coming into 2013.
Oh, you're right about it. The National Football League in North America is a year-round obsession for sure. Andrew, last season, 5 international players were selected before the third round. Do you think that'll change this time around in the draft?
No, I think we could actually see about that same number this year. And in fact, you could have a guy like Ziggy Ansah who could end up in the top 5. I mean, we've got a situation where you have a lot of players with huge upside, and that's something that coaches and teams love to see. And these guys have raw athleticism that can be groomed and made into fantastic NFL players, be they tackles or outside linebackers. In general, you could see wherever talent comes from, nobody cares as long as they can play.
And who, in your opinion, Andrew, is the best international player available in this draft?
Well, I mentioned him a minute ago, and that's Ziggy Ansah. Ansah is a guy who really hasn't been playing that long. He was a track star before, decided to play football, fell in love with it, still very raw. He has huge upside. He is a guy who, if he hits, if he can get those raw edges off, will be a fabulous outside pass rusher. He's someone that the ceiling is really, really high. There's some bust concerns because he is so raw. But he's a guy who, like I said, could go top 5. You could see him go to the Detroit Lions, and he would absolutely be devastating off the edge when you have guys like Nick Fairley and Ndamukong Suh coming up the middle. I mean, Ansah to me is one of my favorite players in the draft, and yeah, he's raw, but he's also a phenomenal athlete.
We know it's been the NBA's intention to make it a worldwide league. What does this say about a player from Ghana going potentially so high in the draft and the NFL's ambition to make this a global game?
Yeah, you know, I think in some ways it does mean something because the NFL is looking to grow overseas. You have the London games. You have some interest elsewhere, a lot of outreach work from players who go overseas, whether they visit, the armed forces or even do some different work in, say, Africa or in third world countries. But I think really what the limitation is a lot of these guys, they don't play football for a long time. Some guys like Marcus Hunt didn't play until they were 15. So I think you're never going to see the influx you could because you can't just pick up a football the way you can a basketball and become a really good player. It takes time. But I think you will get a lot of raw athletes who come in who, teams will take some chances on, take a look at, and maybe develop into great players. I don't think it'll ever be the same way as you do with the NHL or the NBA where you have a lot of foreign players, but you will see more and more as time goes on as the NFL extends its octopus-like reach around the globe.
30 seconds left, Andrew. Who's going to go number 1 tonight?
I think it's Eric Fisher. I think the Kansas City Chiefs have talked about Luke Jokiel, but everything I'm hearing is Eric Fisher, Central Michigan, an offensive tackle I fell in love with at the Senior Bowl in Mobile. He is a phenomenal athlete. I think he's going to be an outstanding left tackle for the Chiefs for a long time.
He's an NFL featured columnist for Bleacher Report, Andrew Garda, at a NFL draft party in New York. Enjoy the night. Andrew, thanks for joining us on World Sport.